Hey guys, Django Fett here, hunting down games, comics, TV shows, movies, and more, and it's been a while since I've done this, but this is a review for Dune Part 1. So it's been a while since I've done a video in these types of formats, but I want to get back to it, and with Dune Part 2 already out by this time on my birthday, what better way than to talk about Dune Part 1? So, Dune Part 1, so let's get right into it. So Dune Part 1 came out a few years ago, and I didn't really know much about the Dune universe, but then when I watched it, didn't have time to watch it in theaters, unfortunately, so I watched it on HBO Max a little bit later, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I loved everything about Dune Part 1. And originally, it was a little odd. I have to go into this tangent, but the movie was marketed as Dune, as in the cover of right here. I have the cover right here. It says Dune. But the title screen is Dune Part 1 in the opening credits. So it's a bit odd how they marketed it, because now Dune Part 2 is coming out. Why they don't call it Dune 2, I don't know. I guess it's because Dune 2 is actually Dune Messiah. So it's a little weird how they have done the marketing for this movie with its Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2. Because Dune Part 1 is the first half of the novel itself, and Dune Part 2 is the second half of the novel. Which makes sense, because the novel itself, which I've read, is almost like 800 something pages. I mean, this is the shorter format, the smaller paperback format, but 800 something pages, which is a lot. So to do all of that into one film makes no sense. Don't believe me? Watch the old film, and you'll see that it doesn't make any sense to do that. It's just too much material to do that. So, Dune Part 1 is the first half of the novel, and when I watch this movie, it's just everything about this, the visuals, the storytelling, especially the storytelling, is phenomenal. The way that Denis Villeneuve executed this movie was perfect, including the characters played by perfect castings like Timothée Chalamet and many others out there. They just did an incredible job with what they did. Oscar Isaacs as his father, just very iconic leads for this movie. So it's going to be interesting to see how they proceed with Dune Part 2 in that aspect with these characters, and how they're going to transform from that aspect. Because Dune Part 1 is really, it is so hard to explain. It's a science fiction epic that is set in the future, way in the future, where people are, still divided. There's still these different factions. House Atreides, Harkonnens, and the House Carino. There's different houses, different factions, but they're all vying for power in their own way, with House Carino actually the lead at the time. But House Harkonnen trying to find ways to, they're arch enemies with House Atreides, and they're trying to find ways to kind of bridge the gap between Carino and Atreides. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything, but this is pretty much a Game of Thrones meets science fiction epic. And that's like the short and sweet explanation, but there is so much to it. There's a lot of spiritual themes, there's war themes, environmental themes. This explores everything, especially with the novel. And I was so inspired by this movie. I loved every minute of this movie. I watched it again at least 2 more times, and on HBO Max, and I even got the 4K Blu-ray. I loved it so much, I ended up reading the novel, which is something that has never happened for me. Never happened for me, because I've just watched the movie and then that's it. Maybe interested in the material, I might just read a wiki or something. But to inspire me to go back to reading, because I haven't been reading in quite some time, to actually get into that, that's saying something right there. That's saying something right there. And I know Dune is pretty much been back in the 50s with Frank Herbert, writing those epic books back in the day, but I just never really explored it and never really cared for it. But until this movie came out, Oh my god, I am hooked. I am in it all the way. So the visuals are absolutely incredible. This is what you can expect from a Denis Villeneuve movie, absolutely. The performances are epic. The storytelling is masterful. So there's this back and forth with the Fremen and the Harkonnens, and it's actually the Emperor gives the House Atreides this planet to take control of. However, things are not as simple as they are set out to be, and there's a lot of complications as you can expect. So not everything that is handed to a silver platter, that's, you know, there's going to be a price to pay for things like that. I'm just going to leave it off at that. So I would say in this movie, they captured it perfectly when reading the novel to this. The first half of the novel is nailed perfectly. And there might be the visions that are not perfect, like in that aspect, but everything else is great, and that's all I wanted. You know, he nailed everything. Denis Villeneuve, who in interviews, he actually knows the material. He's actually read the novel and been inspired, so he knows what the hell he's doing, and has hired so many amazing scriptwriters and screenwriters involved in creating the storytelling. So it's great in that aspect. And I love that the amount of attention and detail when it comes to this movie. It's incredible. So without a doubt, I gotta give Dune Part 1 a... It's absolutely incredible, and I cannot wait to see how they do with Dune Part 2. I only saw one trailer, and that's it. I don't want to be spoiled at any point. I just can't wait to see how Denis Villeneuve nails it with this movie, and I know he will. There's only one thing that really bothers me, is one of the castings for the Emperor, which makes no fucking sense whatsoever. So we will see how they will do it with that, in that aspect. I'm just a little worried about that. It's just going to come off as silly for me. But we will see how Denis, you know, approaches it. Maybe it'll be good. It should be good. I mean, he's always done a great job when it comes to these movies. So maybe this casting will be not so bad. We'll find out. So let me know what you think of Dune Part 1 in the comment section below. Did you love it as much as I did in the comment section below? And did it inspire you so much that it made you read the books? Let me know in the comment section. And subscribe to my channel, Django Fett, if you haven't already. And I'll see you, my fellow Mandalorian brothers and sisters, next time. Ooh, yeah.